Hello, everyone. Thanks for logging into this podcast. Today, I have Naveen here with me. Naveen is a serial entrepreneur, and right now, he is the co-founder of Fantazy, which is a blockchain-based gaming platform. And previously, has gone on to run a couple of different startups. He's run Sodio Technologies as the CEO, and he was also the co-founder of Monimap, which then later went on to get acquired by Byko. So, Naveen, honored to have you here. Thank you so much for doing this podcast with us. I think a lot of insights about your entrepreneurial journey we would love to cover today and love to take out of this podcast for our student community who are uh, really want answers to some of these questions. So yeah, thanks once again. And anything you want to add to the intro before we proceed?
I mean, thank you for having me, and good platform to share my story. So yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah. Okay. Let's get into the question. The first thing is everything people wanted to know was about your entrepreneurial instinct itself and how that journey started happening for you. So you were a part of CMRIT for a couple of years, but then you went on to go ahead and find your own path and do a lot of things before you then went on to find some successful startups, right? So in this whole tough path as an entrepreneur and being an entrepreneur for so many years, what can you reflect about when it finally kicked off for you and one of your ventures went really big and just started doing really well for yourself? So what was it, that ideation phase, like to get to that one venture? I think that was Sodio in your case. So what was the ideation phase before that? And also how was it overcoming some adversities around scaling and managing a team, building a team, and what were some challenges that you faced with that? So first, let's start off with the ideation phase for Sodio and how you went about it.
Right. So prior to Sodio, I had worked for a couple of startups in Bangalore and Delhi. As you said, I was in college for like 2 years. I was in electrical and electronics engineering department. That was not working out well. I had lots of backs. It was not working out for me. So prior to Sodio, what you see during the second year of my engineering, I had figured out it's not going to work out. Right. I gave a lot of. I was very aggressive on the studies, but even then, the output was not coming. So I thought it's better to do something else and look for something else. I tried joining a business school because my idea was that I should get into business. I should do something. I have to be an entrepreneur. And this is during the time when Ola and Zomato and everyone was coming. Startup scene was happening in Bangalore. It was very hot. Everyone wanted to be an entrepreneur. So that's how the idea came that if this is not working, maybe I should explore something here. So we did a very small exercise in college. I thought, why not bring in everyone from my college and give them a platform where they could party, because that's what we did during college weeks, right? So we built a small startup in our college. It was named Transomaniacs. And what we did was we used to we went and we booked pubs and clubs in Bangalore used to give us best offers. And then we distributed the passes to our friends in college, and they would buy it. And then this was very cheap back then. It was only for 600, 700 rupees. That's how I started my entrepreneurial journey. This was way before Sodio. That's how it started. And then eventually I officially dropped out from college and worked with a couple of startups in Bangalore, as I said. And there I was working for a company that was direct competitor to Zomato. And that we were growing very aggressively there. Every day 30,000 users were signing up. It was huge. The founders were burning a lot of money. Within 6 months, they had to shut down the company because of the growth. They were not able to raise funds, right? And they were not able to sustain the platform and pay out salaries to employees. So they shut down the company. Everyone left. And I was with this person. He was my only hope, the founder, right? Because I had dropped out from college, joined him directly. So he said, Naveen, I'll transition this company to a different company. We'll make products for other people. Service business is always booming, right? It was on a very good trajectory back then also. He said, we'll build products for other people. You be the salesperson. You'll be the project coordinator. And that's how we'll thrive, and we'll make some money, and you'll be on a payroll. You'll be paid after 3 months, not now. I took that risk. I had no other option. I said, let's try it out. I started working So this was again very new. IT services I'd never done. I knew how to build products because I was there. So I became their salesperson. I became their project manager. This went on for like another year, but then this guy faced again issues. He was not able to pay salaries on time, so I had to leave. I then started looking for service companies because by then I had gotten some experience, right? So I went to Delhi. I looked for companies there. Got an offer of 17,500 rupees that time. And this is in 2015. They gave me this offer. They said, Naveen, you because I in Delhi, not a lot of people can speak good English, right? And I was in their standard, I was very good as a salesperson who could sell IT services products. So they hired me instantly, and I started working there. Worked there again for like 1 year. I was not liking Delhi. Bangalore seemed a way better option, so I thought, let's just move back to Bangalore. We'll find some other company there. Came back to Bangalore. This is early 2016 when I came back to Bangalore and started again working with for a IT services company. There, that is when the idea came that I should do Sodio myself because I cannot name the company that I was working for, obviously, but I had gotten them the project of CureFit. It was just launching, and the founders were looking for a company that could make their product. And I, somehow managed to get these guys to them. And this project was worth 30 lakhs to 40 lakhs rupees. And I was so happy. I thought I would get a very good bonus. And these guys gave me 10,000 rupees and gave me a pat on the back. And they were like, you did a good job. That's when, I called up my school friend whom I was in touch with from a very long time. I told him, I have to do this. If you want to be a part, be a part. Otherwise, I'm going to do it alone. He was also looking for something. He was also a dropout from SRM second year, just like me. He hopped in and then we started Sodio from our apartment. We both are not coders, just to tell you. Both of us, we don't know how to code. I was the only person who knew how to get projects and do project management. So we found a company in Calcutta who would build projects for us. And that's how it started in our apartment. Within 6 months, we were able to have multiple clients and we could afford an office. So that's how the ideation of Sodio started.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much for covering your journey over there as well. I think that's a very great way to start off with. And I think a lot of questions now will have a lot more context as we go further. So you mentioned how coding was a sort of a challenge, right? And you had to find someone else to do that for you. So apart from that, were there any initial challenges around, I think probably 6 months in as well, when in terms of building a team, and then when it came to fundraising, if that was like a focus at any point of time, and overall scaling it, what were some barriers or some challenges that you had to face specifically to Sodio?
The only problem that we had was we were very new. We did not have anything in our portfolio to convince clients. The first question that everyone asks is, what products have you built? And we had literally nothing to showcase, right? The first client that we got was from US. I had to literally, beg him that, give us a chance. We'll give you like a 50% discount. And you'll be the first client here. And we'll give you a 50% discount. Just give us a chance. He got convinced, and that was the biggest part. We never needed, no one funds a service company, right? I cannot go and sell service company business to anyone. And this is again in 2016. Obviously, that was not happening. So it was all self-funded, bootstrapped. We got our first client, made sure we were working from our apartment. Only after 6 months, when we had enough projects that we could, afford to get more guys in our team who could actually build and not outsource it to someone else, that's when we took our office. So the challenge was the first client because we had nothing in our portfolio. Once he got converted, we did all this design part and then we showcased him as our first client on the website. And that's it. The next time someone asked, we had some references to show.
So can you delve a little more into what it was like? So you spoke about the challenges that you faced with earning your first client and then having to subsidize it a little bit and convince them in that way and then get them as a client eventually, right? So what was it like delivering the first product or the first service whichever it is to this client, whatever you were doing to him, the whole experience of the team working together for the first time. So any challenges, any roadblocks, or rather, what was the whole experience like, and what did that teach you to handle for the clients?
It was, I don't think it was difficult for me because I was already working, with products. I was already the project manager, the salesman in all the companies that I was working for. It was never a challenge. It was very smooth. Even the first client or the last project that we took in Studio, it was all very smooth. Ups
Hmm.
and downs, they always come, because clients have different requirements. It changes, 1 week into the project, 2 week into the project. So they are, just project management issues, nothing else. But as in, I did not face any roadblock. The guys that I had tied up with initially in Sodio, they were also very professional. They delivered on time. The client also got it in time. He was happy to, continue with us. So no problems as such
Hmm.
there.
That's good. Yeah. We'll talk a little more about blockchain development, which has been, the technology has been such a key part of your own entrepreneurial journey and how you implemented it. I think even with Sodio, eventually you were into blockchain development, and that was a service that you were providing to clients. And now obviously running Fantazy, which is blockchain based. So
Mhm.
we'll go more into building businesses and all that later, but let's talk about the technology first, right? Which is blockchain, and it is a buzzword. Obviously, I think for a couple of years now, we've seen students and a lot of our young listeners as well are extremely interested in this and the opportunities that lie with this, right? So let's cover two things. One is with blockchain technology, what are some true opportunities that lie? You can paint a picture as to what's happening today and what the eventual roadmap also looks like if everything goes to plan. But on the other hand, let's also cover some of the challenges and myths that are commonly associated with this. And I think a lot of people come under the impression that it is going to replace everything on the internet and everything's going to move on a blockchain. So you can address that as well. But first, let's talk about opportunities with blockchain.
The opportunities for young guys who are just getting started or are, getting out of colleges, it's huge, both monetarily and the sort of experience that you get by working in a Web3 startup or a Web3 company. It's huge. All the brothers that I have who are just getting out of colleges, I've made sure I've, I've said this multiple times to them as well, or the young lads who meet me. I tell this to them as well. Like, you should explore Solidity, explore blockchain development, because this is where the demand is at the moment.
Mm,
Now, imagine a person getting out of college who has worked on 2, 3 uh, ideas, he's learned blockchain all by himself and has built like 2, 3 products just as small projects. This guy is coming out of college and then he's bagging an offer of which starts at 24 lakhs, 30 lakhs. That's exactly what's happening because the demand is so high and there are not enough people in India who could help you with blockchain development. There are not enough blockchain developers in India at the moment. The
mm,
companies are more. We hire regularly, right? Because we need to upgrade ourselves. We need to upgrade our team all the time. So we hire I would say every 2 weeks we have a new requirement for a blockchain developer. But
mm,
sadly we're not able to finalize on someone because that quality is not there or there are not enough blockchain developers in India. So it's huge. It's huge. I mean, every person that I meet, if he's 21, 22, I tell him learn Solidity
mm,
because that's where the demand is. If you want to get into development, start with that. So
mm,
that's for the young lads. Now, talking about the technology, uh, there is no simple way to define what blockchain can do. And I mean, it has already been spoken about. So every people, anyone from the Web3 or blockchain industry, they would, keep on building the same thing. It's going to revolutionize. I mean, it's not going to happen in next 10 years, obviously. It's going to obviously take a lot more time because you're challenging the government directly.
mm.
And looking at the current situation in India, wherein they have put TDS, 30% tax on it,
Yeah.
I mean, it's obviously going to take some time. But there's always a positive side to it also, right? They've launched CBDC,
Mm,
which is again a very positive thing for the Web3 community. Um, Sadly, the other side of it is also that all the Web3 companies in India, if they are a product-based company, they cannot officially form a company in India. They have to do it in either Singapore or Dubai. Every big project that has come out of India, be it Polygon, be it Bico, everyone has moved out, right? Because that environment is not there. Um, they could get rated with, the government guys, they trouble them a lot, right? They move out of India. So that is the only sad part. But again, lots of innovations happening in Web3 in India. They start from India, but they move to Dubai and Singapore officially. But lots of innovations and great future for the technology in India.
Can you shed some light on probably like taking a simple case of what can be achieved? Why is there such a demand for blockchain technology in general? Like, is there, and specifically with respect to the problems it can solve a lot better by using it, right? So if you could just paint a picture as to what that would look like if successfully implemented.
Okay. See, fraud is the biggest issue in India. I mean, everything which is on a centralized server or in a centralized environment, it can be frauded and it can be tampered with, right? Which is why there's a demand for blockchain and the technology. One simple use case that I would say, talking in terms of the young audience that you have, so we had implemented this for the UAE government in 2018, wherein we built a platform where every college kid or school going kid, when he passes out from his school or college, they get a degree, right? Lots of fraud happens with the degrees in India as well. Now, what the solution was that, every college, every school would deploy the your mark sheet, your certificates, and everything on the blockchain. And let's say you go to a company and you apply there, that I want to work here. They do the verification, right? All they have to do is just check on the blockchain, and it would give them the right data because it's distributed. Everyone knows, no one can tamper with it. This is one of the best use cases that I think. Identity verification is another. You link all your ID identifications in blockchain. A lot of startups are doing that in India. You link all your identities into the blockchain, and then it can be verified by a single entity just with a click of a button, and it would tell them that whether this person is a real person or if the identification that he has provided is correct or not. These are the two use cases and the best use cases of blockchain.
Yeah.
For the young audience, obviously.
Yeah. I think that you covered that very well. You spoke about challenges that we face right now, especially like in an Indian context as well, right? Can you cover anything else with respect to the technology? Is there, in case there's anything challenged in terms of implementing it on a large scale to solve some real world problems? And along with that, if you could also cover some myths around what blockchain can solve and can't solve, if there is anything like that.
See, the only problem with blockchain at the moment, which I'm sure will get solved in like a year or two, is the scalability issue when you have, like, let's say, a lot of audience on your platform. I'm talking from a business perspective, right? And the gas fees and the gas fee that you end up paying is huge. Every transaction that goes through, just for context, every transaction that goes through a public blockchain, incurs a lot of gas fee that you have to pay to the blockchain miners, in order to facilitate your transaction. So that gas fee issue is a very big thing. Now there are startups like Solana who kind of solve this solution, but they have other issues, which is why no one relies on Solana. Everyone relies on Ethereum or Polygon. But again, Polygon has solved this issue to a very certain level. But again, talking from a business perspective, the gas fee that we end up incurring is huge. So that has to be solved yet. It is not completely 100% solved. There are many loopholes and issues there. So that needs to be solved. That is the downside. Second question. What was your second question?
Myths.
Myths as in people only use Bitcoin or tokens and cryptos for legal activities. That is, I would say, 2% or 1% of it. There are actual transactions. There are so many tokens out there. Legal projects real projects, not scam projects. There are people who are actually doing very good stuff with blockchain and crypto. They are building solutions which was never built before, and they're solving real life problems. So it's not just the scammers and the scammers who are using crypto, but there's like 95% of them are using it to solve real life problems.
Yeah. I think, I think it'd be great for anyone listening to the podcast or anyone who stumbles across this to sort of really do a lot of your own research when it comes to getting into the space, because I think a lot of these myths and challenges, you would it would do good to get a good understanding of what is happening, and especially with the good things that are happening, right? With a lot of new networks, new things that are being built on the blockchain and all of that. So I think that will give like a very good idea of the space and what sort of future we're heading into as well. So I think you would advocate for that as well, for sure.
100%. You should always do your own research as much as you can. Never believe any new project that's coming out. Wait for like 6 months or a year, see if it is still there, and then maybe invest your money or do things like that.
Yeah, definitely. We'll zoom out a little bit right now, and we'll go back to sort of what we're talking about with entrepreneurship and connecting new ideas together and moving from one venture to the next venture, right? So a lot of people will face the challenge, or I think entrepreneurs always face the challenge of being established in a particular domain and having like some sort of a expertise over there, but having to move and build something else, something out of their comfort zone, and having to learn something from scratch, right? And you did mention this was one case for you as well, especially when it came to coding, and in a couple of other places where you had to invent yourself. And I think with service-based businesses also, that's something you mentioned, to run what things are like on a service-based business, you have to learn from scratch. So for any business idea, or for anyone evaluating a business idea, or rather we'll talk about you specifically, what are your thoughts about having expertise in the field, which is in terms of experience, subject matter expertise? So how do you evaluate a business idea when it comes to these things? And later we'll talk about some of the lack of resources that you face initially, that is with technology, or some business processes, some networks that people have that they build for themselves. So first, let's talk about evaluating business ideas when it comes to having expertise in the field, and how big a factor that is.
That is a very big factor, to be very honest. If you have no expertise, if you have not done enough research, you are obviously going to go into multiple directions, and you will not have like a proper path that you could follow. And obviously this is like heading towards a dark room, and you don't know what you're exactly doing, right? So the research or having some sort of expertise is 100% required. Work for someone, work under their guidance, and then you'll obviously get a lot of expertise there. You would learn how the business works, how optimization happens in businesses. I mean, that is again some of the things that I wish I would have learned earlier. I mean, in terms of how businesses work, how you need to optimize each and every channel of the business, how the product development happens, how you need to streamline everything. So without proper research, I mean, it's just like walking into a dark room and you're throwing away your arms and trying to touch something or something like that. But yeah, obviously, expertise and research is 100% required, and that you can only get by working for someone else.
Yeah, I think that's a brilliant point. And what was the instance where you sort of realized this, if you can recall it? It may not be like a particular instance specifically, or like a very specific memory, but what was the general experience that when you were going through this, you came to the realization that, oh shit, I wish I had some more experience. I wish I had understood things a lot deeper before throwing myself into the dark end, if that ever happened to you. So if you could highlight that as well.
Yeah, that was only that used to happen when we were starting out Studio, and client would ask us questions on project management. I don't have a project management degree, or I don't have a license, or I don't have any certification, right? There are people who get certified as a project manager, and here I am straight from a service company where I was a salesperson, doing project management now. So, I mean, if I would have learned how project management happens when I was, parallelly running Studio, then I think I would have streamlined a lot of processes and it would have eventually benefited the business. When you streamline, when you make things proper and aligned, the project that you do in 3 months can also be done in 2 months, and everyone is aligned. Otherwise, you're not noting down anything. You are just hustling and you're just working on three problems simultaneously. So that is something that I feel I should have done. Should have gotten like a certification, because it's all the information is available for free on the internet. Right? You can look for it on YouTube and you would be ready in like 2 weeks or 1 month max. So I wish I would have done that.
Got it. Yeah. Okay, now let's approach another sort of problem that you face at this stage, right? And when you're thinking about a business idea or evaluating one, there's always a lack of resources, regardless of, I think, however experienced you are and however well set up you are for success. There's always going to be something, right? Whether technology, whether people, whether processes, your own network, and people who are would be able to help you. So how do you think about this when you're starting out and thinking about an idea, and how do you then go on to tackle it?
Right. I talk to potential customers. I talk to people who are already into that business. That helps a lot. If a potential, if you talk to a potential customer, not one, I would say 10, talk to 10 potential customers, they would give you the exact pain points that they are facing with in the present technology. Or if there is no technology, what are their problems with real life problems, basically. They would give you the entire problem statement, and then it's up to you how you solve it. That's one. Second is you meet people who are already in this field, who are already working on a similar project like yours, or are not direct competitors. Even not direct competitors would also work. You talk to them, you meet them. That gives you a lot of perspective. You understand. I've spoken with a potential customer. He told me these points, and these guys are not even focusing on these points. Then that's where your problem statement lies, right? If you target that problem statement within a year or year and a half, you would see real traction coming onto your platform or your business. That's how I handle it. I have done with my all the 3 startups that I've done. That's how I have learned it there. So yeah.
Let's focus on I think this what you said makes a lot of sense for I think the business side of things as a whole, and finding out the mental model to kind of find out if you have a business that's worth building and that'll actually make money or not, right? So I think that's a great insight over there. And now, how do you address technological challenges? Because I think this is more relevant to also coming back to a lot of young listeners and people starting out for the first time. Like you at that point of time, they are right now thinking, okay, I don't really have the technical skills or the know-how at all to kind of build this. But technology is an integral part of most businesses or most successful businesses these days, right? So how is it for you? You mentioned that you had to find a person who was technologically capable enough, and you had to integrate that person in. But apart from that, how do you tackle this sort of a technology paralysis, if I may, that young listeners go through?
See, you can only build a technology product only if you have someone in your team who's capable enough to handle the entire technical side of it all by himself. There's no other way. If you are starting out for the first time, you can if you have money, you can approach a company like Sodio and they would build the entire platform for you. But that would require a lot of capital. Right? If you are young, you will not have that sort of capital, right? You will not have 10 lakhs, 20 lakh rupees to invest in technology.
Yeah.
So if you are starting out, the best thing is go to all these startups meetup that's happening in your city. Talk to every guy, look for synergies, look if this guy is capable enough to understand the idea and is capable enough to build the platform. That's a perfect match, right? That's how everyone does it. They go to meetups, every single meetup that is happening around the city, and
Mm.
they get their co-founders there. But
Mm.
obviously, you will need to evaluate that person. It should not happen that the guy chickens out after 2 or 3 months and you're left with 25% of the code, and then you're looking for a different person, and you
Mm.
waste another 1 month or 2 months to find that guy. And then this guy comes up and he says, we have to report this. So you've wasted a lot of time, and time is money, right? All of us know it. So go to meetups. I'm sure 100% you would get a perfect fit. If not for the first time, then second time for sure.
Hmm. That's a very interesting, I think, take on things as well, right? It's the fact that having a technology co-founder is almost extremely crucial. And maybe if you don't have it in your circle, actually go out there and find a person you don't know and make him a co-founder, if that idea is something that you really believe in. So I think that's a great tip that you shared.
There are many apps also now where you
Hmm.
could find a co-founder. I don't recall the name of those apps, but I've seen it somewhere. Find a co-founder or something like that,
Yeah.
where you filter out on the basis of what exactly you're looking for. If you're a technical person, if you're looking for a business person, they would match you, and then you go on a date with them. And then if things work out, you
Yeah.
know. So
Yeah.
yeah, there are many apps also now. So you can try them out.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I think that's great. Okay, let's talk about another aspect of an entrepreneur's journey, which is getting acquired, right? And it is seen as, and it's one of the ways in which entrepreneurs mark their success and know that they've made it as an entrepreneur, I guess, in a lot of ways, right? So you used to run Munim, which got acquired by Byco. So in this whole process, when it came to the acquisition and in the entire process, how did you go about tackling the question of why you, and sort of selling yourself and making a good case for you to be acquired, I guess, right? Or you can talk about how that process went in the beginning in the acquisition talks, and also if you could shed some light about what the process was like with the negotiations and formalities and all of that happened, because I think this is one of those things where there is almost little to no information or resources about what really goes on, but it is happening a lot and is going to continue happening a lot for acquisitions like these, right? So what does that negotiation formality process looks like? But first, let's start with answering the why you question that the
Mhm.
company might have.
Right. So we had launched Munim in during the pandemic in December 2020, towards the end, because I was in Calcutta. I was talking to a lot of people that my dad knows. I was, looking out for that problem statement again. How can we solve issues that these guys are facing? So we did this MVP in like 20 days or 3 weeks. We launched it, and it started growing organically. We were getting signups from Pakistan. We were getting signups from India. People, they were using it to actually manage their employees.
Mm.
This product was that you could track your employees' attendance. Their You can track their loans, their salaries, their payment of their salaries. Around that. So people started actually using it, and this was targeted towards people who had 5 to 10 employees in their shop or in their factory. So the downloads started coming in organically, and that's when we got the eye of Bytebo, and this guys got in touch, and they what they are into a different model. What they do is they give out franchisees of their brand, which
Mm.
is EV based two-wheelers and charging networks, obviously. So they were looking for a solution where wherein through which they could manage all the franchises that they were giving out. They started off really well in South India, and their demand in North India is again skyrocketing now. So all these they needed a platform, right, where to which they could manage all these franchises that they were giving out and all the employees that these guys had in a franchising, right? So they needed a solution. They got in touch with us, and I was flying to Calcutta from Bangalore, and they had called us and said they had set up a meeting in Hyderabad. So I had to cancel my ticket. Me and my other co-founder, we went and we met them, and you know they had already tried the app themselves. So this was all business related questions that they had. They also did like a code review because again, that happens. They review, they do like a small audit from their side of the entire code, and if all the user bases are correct or not, or if there are any problems in the system that could, because they're directly integrating it into their system, right? So that code review happens, audit happens, and then after that, the negotiation started, and then we finally managed to get like a proper deal, which both the parties had agreed on to. And our team also got diluted there. We had to give our developers to them because they could manage the whole platform.
Mm.
But officially, we had made sure that we will not be involved in Mooney, because we wanted to get out of Mooney and do something else now.
Mm.
So we left, but the employees were diluted. So that's how the official deal happens when you get acquired.
Hmm. Any other details in the whole negotiation process, or even the formalities that happen, that you think should be shared, or which is normally not known to anyone, but it was very interesting to you probably when you were going through it? And yeah.
Lawyers get involved, which is what I was not expecting from both the parties. That
Mm.
was strange for me, but obviously it's required, because an agreement is signed, and you make sure that you don't face any problem in future. So that was very strange for me, but it was like an eye opener that why did not I think of this? Obviously, lawyers are going to get involved. This was my first product-based startup that was going to get acquired. So obviously that was new to me, and
Yeah.
this is like your minute detail that you were asking for.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, to move on to slightly a different topic, I think away from entrepreneurship also a little bit, right? Which is in the context of service-based companies, it is building a big clientele is obviously like the co-founder or whoever is working, it's their dream to keep adding more and more clients to the portfolio, to their clientele. So having cracked a lot of these big name clients yourself when you were part of Sodio, so what are some inputs that you have when it comes to bagging these clients? And let's look at two things. One is the pitch that you need to use, and here it's a lot of the process before that also. Let's also talk about how do you know who to connect to, how do you know what to pitch, what are some of the wordings that you use, let's say, and then let's focus on having a unique selling point, right, which is beyond a price, which is everything. Everyone competes based on the price, but how do you have something more than that you can offer and stand out from your competitors, right? So that's another thing that we can cover. So first, let's talk about the pitch and the process of acquiring a new client.
So IT services business, how generally it happens is there are two types of client. One are people. The first one is the people who are starting out for first time. They have capital. They had, let's say, they were working somewhere else and they had acquired all this capital, and then now they want to build their own product, and they're looking for a company that could build it for them. So they get in touch with us, and they pitch us the idea, and we based on the idea that they're pitching, we formalize it in a document, and we tell them this is how it should be done properly. So that's the consulting side of it to the startups. Now comes the bigger side, where it's a big company, let's say Tata or Nestle that we have worked with. Now they don't get in touch with you. They have TCS, they have Infosys that they can directly partner up with, and they can get their products built.
Yeah.
Now to them, what you do is you understand, you meet their people, right? You let's say you are in an event, and then you have met someone from that company, and then you're having a very nice chat with them. They are sharing their problem with you. So what you do is you take out problems from them, build like a solution for it, and then you arrange a meeting with a senior management team member of theirs, and then you go and pitch to like 10, 12 guys who are sitting in the boardroom, and then you pitch them, you're facing this issue. This can be solved this way. If you give us a chance, we'll build it this way, and this is how much it's going to cost, and this is how much time it's going to take. So that's a separate model itself. You're pitching in yourself, and then you're making sure that these guys don't steal the idea that you have just pitched and they give it to someone else, or they build it in house. You also have to make sure that you present yourself in such a way that they would give it to you only. So this comes through partnerships and uh, team members of the big organizations that you meet in events. That's how it happens. And obviously, it's very separate for first-time entrepreneurs. They get in touch with you. They want you to build and they negotiate. Which big companies, they don't negotiate a lot, but startups, first-time entrepreneurs, they want you to build their product for, let's say, 10,000 rupees or 50,000 rupees, even that sort of. But it was very nice dealing. I would say it was very, we enjoyed, having that sort of conversations with big enterprises. They're very professional. They make sure that you don't get cheated or they don't get cheated. They would do a lot of uh, drilling sessions. They would inquire everything about your company, and then they hire you. So that's how it works.
But I think it would be such an art, right? Which is the process of demonstrating to them that you are the right person, as in you can already build something of this sort and do it. But also, like you said, they're still running the risk of them sort of running away with it and giving it to someone else. So how much do you reveal in that, whatever you're showing them? How many details do you have to show? Because obviously, if you tell them the entire process of how you're going to build it, then they can just do it themselves. So I think it's very nice balance probably behind the scenes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. You also have to present yourself as the only person who could do it. I mean, we were a blockchain development company, right? They could not become a blockchain developer company the next day or within 3 months. This was our 2-3 years of hustle that we had done in Web3. So they knew these guys are the best guys who could do it. So that acted as an advantage, I would say.
Yeah. I think perfect segue into the next thing as well, right? Which is for any service-based business out there, how do you demonstrate that you have a selling point that is not just say, okay, I'm offering you the best prices, because that's a common strategy that everyone's probably going to be using. But how do you stand beyond that? What are some other aspects that you show to say that, okay, I am the best at this and you should work with me?
Prices don't work. It always works with first-time entrepreneurs. They do this mistake that this guy is building it for 10 lakhs and this company has quoted 1 lakh. I should go ahead with them. Once I raise, then I'll invest in my technology. But that code never works. So the first-time entrepreneurs, they do this sort of mistakes. But enterprises, they don't specifically, make this sort of mistakes that, if these guys are asking for 10 lakhs, we should not judge them on the basis of pricing, but they drill you like anything. They make sure they have a technology team, right? And these guys are 15 years worth of experience and 20 years worth of experience. They would drill you to the last 4 and make sure that you have the expertise to build it. It's like literally an interview process that you go through there along with your CTO, and the CTO is drilled. And then the finalization happens. They don't, it's not that, they talk to you and they take the entire pitch that you have given or any document. They don't reveal it because NDAs are signed and they take NDAs very seriously, and so do we. So they they discuss it internally, and then it only happens once the head of technology gives an approval.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Okay, I think we've covered a lot of things around entrepreneurship and around your past businesses, but now let's come to Fantazy, right, which you're running right now. We'll talk more about the space and fantasy gaming and all of that in a little bit. But first, we would love to know the story behind Fantasy, how it came to be. So let's look at this again in two aspects. One is, what was the story behind building the product? That's like from the idea stage to the process where you had, like, let's say an MVP or something. And then let's talk on the other side about the market research that you did and how you were also able to crack product market fit with this, right? So first, let's start with building the product and the story behind it.
So after Munim happened, we got acquired. I had lots of times. I was literally doing nothing for 6 months. That time I was playing fantasy cricket a lot on Dream 11. Prior to that also I was playing, but since I had Sodio and Moni to take care of, I was not that involved. I would only get involved when there was IPL and I was sitting and idle at home. I would play a match on Dream 11 and see if I'm lucky enough. But after Moni got acquired, I had enough time to play Dream 11 every day for a couple of hours. That's where the idea stuck. They promise you that you're going to get 10 crores, 1 crore, you're going to win 1 crore, you're going to win SUV, Thar. Never happens.
Yeah.
And there are enough proofs online that they fill the entire pool themselves, and the leaderboard positions are taken up by their bots.
Oh, wow.
That's when I thought this is a perfect use case for Web3.
Hmm.
Users should be able to play fantasy cricket without um, having to even doubt the fairness of the platform.
Hmm.
This is the best use case. We should do this. And with this idea, I started talking to all the guys that I was in touch with, all the VCs.
Hmm.
I presented them the idea, and simultaneously, I was the place where I live in. It's a very big society. We have like 300 members who play cricket every weekend during
Hmm.
the early hours. We
Hmm.
all play cricket, and then I pitched to them and I asked them, would you be willing to play on a platform which is very fair, let's say,
Hmm.
where if you win, you'll obviously get motivated to play more matches. And they liked the idea. They said, Naveen, yeah, you build it, we'll try it out.
Hmm.
That gave me the initial market. That was my initial market research, to be very honest. Those 300 guys that I was playing with,
Hmm.
and I reached out to VCs. It was very easy because they knew the idea. They knew this could work because currently there is not enough use cases for crypto. What can you do with your crypto that you're holding at the moment? You can keep holding it forever. You
Hmm.
can you can either send it to someone and use it as a payment mechanism,
Hmm.
right? Now what we are giving you an option of is you gamble with it on our platform,
Hmm.
so that people who are holding crypto, they cannot keep holding it forever, right? They can stake it. I know they can stake it somewhere, but that's just one aspect of it. It can be used as payments, but there's no option to gamble with crypto. That's what I want my users to use their crypto with. So
Hmm.
that's the other side of the product, which is, one side is fair and transparent product where you can play without any questions. Here, bots deploy anywhere. Second
Hmm.
aspect is that I can play with the tokens and crypto that I'm already holding. It's not that I have to buy their token.
Hmm.
They also have a token, they also have a crypto. I buy that first and then I play on the platform. It creates a roadblock.
Yeah.
So from day one, we had this idea. We are never going to do our own token. Because
Hmm.
if a project does its token, the mindset is the price, when the prices go up during bull market, we'll sell it off and we'll make quick money and then we'll run off.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we had this idea. We're not going to do our token. Let them play with their token. So that's how the idea started. And we got pre-seed funded uh, before we even started building the product. It was in the month of, I would say, June, July is the time when we got pre-funded and we
Hmm.
started building the product. Now the product took a lot of time to build. It took 4 months to even build the product. Why? Because the smart contract is um, so huge. I mean, it handles the participation of user, it handles the leaderboard generation, it handles the distribution. And to call ourselves 100% transparent, we had to do everything on the smart contract, right?
Hmm.
Otherwise, you're not decentralized.
Correct.
Otherwise, you have control, right? And if it is on the smart contract, everyone can go and verify who are all the players, what is their history, and
Hmm.
you know that we are not deploying the bots, right? So that took around 4 months to 5 months. And we did beta testing with my cricketing group for with like 100 users, and then we officially launched. So this we officially launched in December.
Hmm.
So that's the whole story.
Hmm. Okay, awesome. I have a question around sort of reward systems, using crypto as a reward systems, and then your decision to obviously not go with your own coin and all that. But before that, let's talk about the other aspect, which is when you realized that you had cracked product market fit, and what was that journey till the point where you saw like a huge influx of users, probably. So, what is that process like?
So it was on day one when I had the idea. I knew, it had a huge potential. But as an entrepreneur, any idea that you get tens of ideas every day, and you're like, this is game changing.
Hmm.
But there are very few ideas that you validate. The validation happened during the entire product development and my pre-talk with the cricket team that I was a part of, right? Just 300 guys.
Hmm.
So they played a lot of fantasy cricket, and everyone knew Dream 11 is or the other web. I should not name one company, but all the Web2 guys, they're doing this. They promise 1 crore, 10 crore, they're overselling you.
Yeah.
And they knew it. And everyone on Web2 games, what they're doing is they're playing uh, private pools now. They're not playing in the main prize pool, which is 10 crores worth of prize pool, because they know they're never going to win it. They're
Yeah.
playing private pools wherein it's a 10 group of 10 people who are playing together, and the winner takes it all, or distributed among the top 2 or top 3 guys.
Mm-hmm.
That's how they were playing. When I told them about this idea, that's where my validation happened, and then I started building the product, speaking to a lot of guys. And once we launched the product, we did that 100 member beta testing. When we officially marketing it, IPL started on 1st of April. 2nd April, when the match was about to get started, the toss had just happened, and I saw 5,000 users signing up instantly. I thought we were hacked, to be very honest. Everyone in my team thought we have been hacked. Someone is trying to drain out all the matic that we have. And we panicked. We shut down the server. We stopped the match. Because you are at the stage where you are onboarding 100 users every day, and suddenly you get like influx of 5,000 users. We were shocked. After 2 days, we find out that it was someone who used to run a Telegram group of users. He had advertised without our knowledge. He told everyone in their group, this is a very fair and transparent platform. Guarantee you guys are going to get. If you should build like a good team, you could be in the top 10%. So that influx came from there. And once that influx came, it's not stopping. Currently, we are clocking around 2,000 users every day now, and it is increasing day by day. So that gave us a lot of validation that the product that we have built is obviously being used as it is supposed to be used, as a fair and transparent. Web2 guys are coming and playing, which is a very good validation again. They are trying to understand the technology. They don't know what Matic is, right? They don't know how blockchain works. But even then, since they're trusting blockchain, it is fair and transparent, which is why they are playing. And they're winning also, right? If a guy wins, he sends me a screenshot that I won 40 Matic today, I won 50 Matic today. And then they, refer it to their friends, and they come on, they play on our platform. So yeah, that validation of ideas already happened.
No, that's brilliant, man. That's a brilliant story as well. So it's actually very nice to hear. Okay, so one of the things you mentioned, I think, with while planning it was your reward systems and how you decided to go with Matic first as the reward. And also a conscious decision to not publish your own coin. So if this could be extended, and if you had to give advice around this for crypto entrepreneurs or people aspiring to be crypto entrepreneurs, so how do you plan reward systems in general? And what was maybe some framework that you should think about it? And let's also talk about publishing your own coin. Can there be a case where publishing your own coin is probably a good idea, and how you can go about it as well? So we'll start with planning reward systems with crypto as the reward.
It has to be a Web3 product, otherwise it's not going to make sense. That's first and the most obvious answer. If you're rewarding your users in crypto, the whole product should be around Web3, first of all. Now, it depends on the product again, what sort of a product it is. In our sense, since we are letting our users play with crypto, they have to be rewarded back in crypto, right? We cannot reward them back in anything else, in the token that they have participated. So that's about the rewarding. It depends on the product. And for the token bit, wherein if you are planning out to do a Web3 product, and if you're thinking of doing your own product or your own token or not, I would say, no one's going to invest if you go and tell them for no reason that, hey, we will have our own token. No one is going to invest, because people know. They get that red flag now.
Yeah.
Why do you want to specifically do a token if you don't have no use case of the token?
Yeah.
Right. So I think until and unless it's very much required, until and unless you are running a DAO where people can do voting with the token, it's not making sense, or any other use case that the token is supposed to have. Without use case, don't do any token.
Perfect. I think that sums it up well. Yeah, I think that's brilliant advice, considering if people have been keeping up with the news lately as well, with all the projects and if they've seen the news around projects and how infamous some of them have become, I think there's good validity to doubt your reasons for coming up with a new coin. So yeah, I think that's a good point there as well. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll talk sort of staying on the same topic. Another thing that you had mentioned is about the ideation process, I think, right? If I go back to it a little bit and how you spotted that one thing through whatever you were doing through experience, which was playing Dream 11 at that time, and you finding some problem over there. In this process of finding an idea in a crowded space, because that fantasy sports is that, right? And to still come up with an idea and say that in your case, it probably was an obvious thing that someone had to do, which is a very, very transparent fantasy game. So let's talk about that, which is how, as budding entrepreneurs, you can find a niche where others have missed something, which is like a must have that other people have not been doing. But on the other hand, let's also talk about betting on some could be's that you have in your head, some possible things that you're not fully sure about. And how do you also know when to take the right bet on that and know whether it's like, and this one's sort of like a category creation sort of a venture, right? Let's call it that. So first, let's start with the must have that other people have not seen and you want to build it. How do you approach that kind of a situation?
Okay, let's take this for example. As in, if you are trying to compete with Reliance, or if you're trying to compete with Blinkit, until and the space is overly crowded, right? Let's consider e-commerce business. If you're a direct competitor to Flipkart, and if you're trying to directly compete with Flipkart, you have to have 100% courage first of all, and validation for the idea, right? I'm not saying you cannot compete with Flipkart. You 100% can, but you should have that strength that I can invest 5 years of my life here on this project. If you're thinking, yeah, let's just try it out for 6 months and then I'll see if this is working out or not, don't do it. If you're willing to give 5 years, then only do it, because it will take at least 5 years to fight Flipkart or Amazon for that matter. And you have to make sure that all the problems that these guys are not addressing, all the issues that are there currently in their platforms, you focus on it and then you keep solving, and then you also have to have this thing in your mind that no one's going to invest for next 2 years. You have to self-fund this for next 2 years. So go lean, as in spend as less as you can, maybe do a side hustle. There's no problem in doing a side hustle in the initial year or so, because that's how your company is going to run, right? Be a freelancer. If you're a coder, code for someone else for like 5 hours or 10 hours every week, get some money, put it in the venture, and if the product is good, it will eventually start working, and you see that you have like a good trajectory in terms of growth, and then you don't stop. Give it 5 years, it's obviously going to work out. But it requires a lot of commitment. That's the issue, right? Your mindset has to be perfect all the time. If you go negative, if you go south, there's no going. You have to shut down otherwise.
Got it. Yeah. What you mentioned with the duration and the amount of time that you have to spend, could it be a case where, on the other hand, about a business or a potential problem statement that you see, which is probably no one has had a crack at before, or someone has had a crack at but they've failed, this sort of a experimental sort of a venture. In such a case, how do you approach it? In this case, would it be a good idea to, let's say that, okay, I will try this out for 6 months only, and then I'll stop and move on to other things? Or is it still a case of you have to devote a significant amount of time? So what are your thoughts on building businesses like these or ideas like these?
If someone has already tried it and they have not succeeded, right? So if they have not succeeded, again, when I was building Fantasy, there were a couple of projects that were into the similar background. And these were two startups. They're now shut down. I'm the only one at the moment who's still acquiring users. So there are, when a company gets shut down, there are multiple reasons behind it. It's not that their business model was not perfect. They were not addressing the right problem. There are other reasons. founders had a fight. They could not raise on time. They spent aggressively on user acquisition, things like that. So it's never a case that the company has already tried it and they've gotten shut down. It's because of the issue with the problem that they were solving. It could be because of other reasons. Again, you have to do your own research. You have to have believe in the idea, get it validated, and then go aggressive. As in not monetary. Don't push out and spend crazily on user acquisition. Give it some time. Let it grow organically for some time. Spend the only amount that you can every month on the product and let it grow. There, a time will always 100% there is going to come a time when you realize that you realize that the trajectory has increased drastically. That's one. Second is, running a business requires a lot of partnership. Partner with as many people as you can. Partner with 10 people every month, I would say. If the more partnerships that you do, it's directly increasing your user base and it's directly increasing your product. So keep doing that. A time will come when you'll see a rocket rocket launch trajectory.
Perfect. Brilliant. Okay, on a similar note as well, let's cover another aspect that we've not spoken about so far, or sort of touched here and there, but not fully addressed, which is funding, right? And even with your initial idea, raising that first round of investment to a lot of people is seems very far-fetched, and they can never believe that they can get to that stage. And then multiple rounds after that is probably something that someone starting out has probably not even thought about, and they don't even consider a realistic possibility. So with this in mind, how do you, or what is the process like, and some strategies that maybe you followed, or some things that you've noticed when it comes to fundraising? Both will talk about the initial round, your first capital that you raise, first round that you raise, and then future rounds will address later on. So let's start off with raising your first round with your strategies and some mental models around this.
Don't go to VCs directly and tell them you fund me now. If you go with this thought that I have to have funding in the next 10 days or 1 month, that's never going to happen. Go with the strategy that, hey, I'm building this product. You need to fund it after a year or so. Because what happens is you keep constant communication with this person. Like, he sees dedication. VCs never put money on the product. They put it on the person, and everyone knows it, right? If you keep him engaged for like a year, and you, let's say, give him weekly updates, not weekly, but otherwise he would be disturbed, right? If you give him monthly updates that this was this month's update, this is how much we have grown, this is where the problem is, and this is where we are seeing a downfall. Next month you go to him and you show him this is where we were facing downfall and we have increased, and this is a new problem that has come up and we are now trying to address it. This helps you a lot, because all the VCs, they see the hustle that you're doing. They have regular updates. Then it also creates like a situation wherein they know what's happening with your product. They talk to other people. Then they tell other people about your product. So it also creates a FOMO about your product in the market, right? That there is this product and they are growing on an average, even if, let's say, at an average pace, but these guys are growing and they're doing very well. And it's not that they look for commitment, basically. If you do this for like a year, don't go with this strategy that, hey, I need to be funded. Never works. Only works if you are Kunal Shah, you have a new idea and you go to your friends and you tell them, hey, this is my next venture, and everyone's obviously going to put in their money. You're not Kunal Shah, you don't have any validation in the market. So that this is something that I follow personally, and has worked out in my favor.
Okay, awesome. And if we were to talk about future rounds, what are some insights that you'd like to share?
Future rounds, if you can get the initial set of VCs who would help you get this next round, it will help you a lot. You should always look for strategic investors. It's not that they should be silent partners, because you learn from them. They've invested in multiple companies. They know what works. They know what can get you from 10 million to 100 million users. So partner up with these VCs and keep the other VCs engaged. Again, You keep telling them, once you raise your first round, you come into limelight. Everyone knows about you. All the VCs in the town knows that this particular company has raised from our friends, and this is their progress. So it becomes very easy after that. Raising the first capital is always very difficult, but then it becomes a little less difficult if you have proper traction, if you have proper user metrics. Then it's not a problem. And your VCs always help you for the next round.
Yeah. That's a great point as well. Awesome. I think that covers a lot of the questions around entrepreneurship and your ventures and some of the hard knowledge around these things that we've covered so far. So for the back end, we'll sort of keep it a little lighter and talk about a few other things as well. And we'll start off with first thing is colleges, right? And obviously, a lot of the questions are around college students and how it would help them, or people in a similar age bracket rather. So first thing is not making it to a top college, right? Which is either an Indian institute of something and management, technology, science, whatever it is. And people feel like they're limited in some ways, that they cannot have as many opportunities as it's like with people who have been there and sort of feel like their dreams have been shattered in some ways, right? So when it comes to a college tag bias that exists, and from what you've seen as an entrepreneur, how much do you relate with this problem, with having seen the entrepreneurial ecosystem and having seen whether or not people give preferences to college tags like these? So what are some problems and backlogs as you've seen it to be? But also for most of our listeners, and this is the most crucial thing, what are opportunities for growth that you can still do with your hard work and which is still in your hands, which doesn't depend on your college at all? So both sides of the coin. First, let's talk about problems and backlogs as you've seen it, if any.
It exists, sadly. It 100% exists. VCs, it was happening very aggressively during the last decade. It was happening, and everyone knew that if you have IIT tag, it becomes very easy for you to raise funds because you have that tag, and people were betting against the tag, and the next round would eventually close because this guy is an IIT Bombay funded by, let's say, so and so star VC. Next round, 100% finalized, and then eventually it becomes difficult because you need to show traction. This is where these guys fail. So yeah, still exists. The only way to overcome this is I dropped out from CMRIT in second year, and this is again not a very big college. No one even knows about it. I would say in Bangalore, even in Bangalore, no one knows about CMRIT, right? So it was very difficult. I had to prove myself, and so would you guys have to prove yourself. You have to prove that you can run a profitable business. If you can run a profitable business, everyone is going to throw their money at you. Once you have a successful exit, people get that idea. Yeah, this guy has exited before, and we can invest our money on him because he can. If you compare a person who has had like successful exit, and then if you compare with a person who's starting out for the first time, VC is obviously going to put his money on the person who has had his first exit because it's their investment, right? They need to look at 100x, 500x, or 1000x for their return of investment, correct? So you need to prove yourself. You need to show that you can make a profitable business, raise your first round. If you want to have an exit, obviously it's not a thing that you must do. If you can sustain that business for 15 years, 20 years, 25 years, obviously do that. Don't run after exits. But if you get exit, it then proves that this guy is better than that IIT tag wala guy.
Yeah.
But sadly, it exists.
Yeah, that's a brilliant point. I think very concisely put as well, right? That yes, your opportunities may be a little limited because you don't have that tag, but in the end, it all comes down to whether can you demonstrate successful proof of work of you being a good entrepreneur, which in case is either an exit or building a profitable business, which is like the benchmark for an entrepreneur to look at. So yeah, I think very nicely put.
And I kid you not, in 2014, there were instances there were many statements that had come out VCs would ask you this question. The first question that they would ask is, which college are you from? This was happening in 2014. And, obviously for a person who is not from IIT, this was very sad. We used to get angry. Every IITian that I used to meet, I was like, hey, it's very easy for you guys. I had that anger. Eventually that got away because I was being very conditioned that point of time. But, for the guys who are starting out, if you read this sort of news on the internet that people are getting funded because they have IIT ka tag, it's very sad to handle that. To take it. But yeah, as I was saying, VCs we used to start it this way. Which college are you from?
Yeah. Okay. And the next few questions are again a little random, different topics, right? Not sort of in the flow. And the next thing is, how much have you seen as the value of experience-based learning? And over here, we'll strictly talk more about people that you probably come across and people that you've learned from, and that dialogue that you had with them or that perspective that you offered from them probably went on to change a lot of things for you or gave you a great learning. So I'm sure there's a lot of such dialogues and people that you came across in your journey, right? And one of the things that we're trying to solve for is the exact same, is to bring people like these who would be able to guide you and provide their insights to you, to connect them to you and bring that perspective as a young person in front of you. So what do you think is the benefits of dialogue-based education, if I may, experience-based education? First, when it comes to building or having realistic inspirations in life of people around you and looking at them. And also, how does this help you build better mental models and structure your thoughts and build better frameworks about your personal, professional life and all of that? So first, let's talk about having realistic inspirations and how important that is.
Right. I will share this from my experience, and the thing that I have faced for the next for the last 8 years. What I've seen is you should definitely have a mentor, because he's obviously going to guide you for the next step or the next stage that you for your life, obviously, and he will tell you before the problem comes that you're going to face this problem after 6 months, and you'll see after 6 months you will obviously face that problem. But I'm totally against this mentorship model and business models around that, to be very honest. I'll tell you why. Because people run these mentorship programs. They tell you, we're going to guide you. We're going to do this for you, and eventually you have to pay us this much amount. I know they are charging us for the time that they are giving you, but I don't think that works out at the end. If you can look forward to a person who you think can guide you properly, and if you choose the mentor, that's what I'm trying to tell you. Instead of the mentor getting to you and telling you, hey, I want to be your mentor, pay me $200 every week, and I'd be your mentor happily. Instead of that, if you choose your mentor, if you think this guy is worth mentoring me, and then if you are paying him that amount, that works out all the time, every time. And if he's not asking for money and if he's doing that for free, that's obviously again a very good thing, because he's not seeing any profit in it. All his suggestions that are going to come out are going to be 100% unbiased and from his real life experience. So look for people who are not charging for you for mentorship. We have had mentors, they have never charged us anything. Never. These guys have run big ad agencies. They had run big technology companies. A mentor is a mentor. He gives you guide. He guides you, right? He would never believe in, if you would offer him 5% stake in your company, let's say, or 1% stake in your company for the guide that he has been, then I think there's no problem. You're offering that by yourself, but he's saying, hey, give me 1% of the company, I'll be your mentor. I don't think these guys can be trusted. So this is my opinion. I can 100% be wrong, but this is what I feel and this is what I've seen.
Yeah, for sure, 100%. And on an informal note, I'm sort of glad you mentioned that as well, because that's very in line with what we are also trying to do, which is bring a lot of perspectives on the platform and not force any of these perspectives or these people on anyone and charge them for it, right? So
exactly,
that you mentioned that. So
exactly.
Yeah, awesome. We'll also cover talk about in terms of mentors or people you take inspiration from. How does that help you in general build better mental models, better frameworks for thinking, and how have you seen it affect you personally as well?
Yeah. So the mentors that I was telling you about, they would tell me the exact problems that I said. They would tell me the exact problem that I would face after 6 months.
Hmm.
And I did not believe these people initially. But then after 6 months, when I faced those issues, that's when I realized I'm being tradition. I should listen to these guys and maybe, make them my mentor and take feedback from them.
Hmm.
So I started ringing them up weekly. I used to line one weekly call. And I still do it, to be very honest. I have few guys that I'm regularly in touch with. Any new partnership, any big decision that I take, if it's a very big thing, then the first thing that I do is I call them and I
Hmm.
talk to them. And they give me a different perspective to what I'm thinking. I'm thinking from one perspective, right? Yeah. This is the positive side that can happen. This is the negative side that can happen. When I talk to them, they give me three different aspects to both positive and negative sides
Hmm.
of the partnership or the deal or anything of that matter. So that can only happen if the guy is experienced,
Hmm.
right? So you choose your mentor that way. If he gives you lots of perspectives and then you both sit and decide, let's try this out. This is the strategy that I follow.
Yeah, yeah, brilliant. Awesome. I think last final couple of questions, and these are just some light-hearted ones, as like very off topic. So, first thing is, as someone who has been an entrepreneur for so long and so many years, and running multiple ventures as well,
Mhm.
what's your definition of a work-life balance as of today, and how do you go about maintaining it? And after that, let's then talk about mental well-being and mental health and some practices that you probably follow to maintain this and what that routine looks like for you. So first, let's start off with work-life balance and what that looks like to you.
There is no work-life balance. If you're working in a product-based company, there is no work-life balance. If you have to be the customer support, you have to be the legal, you have to handle the legal side, you have to handle marketing, you have to handle tech product development, and then you have to handle partnerships, you have to talk to VCs. So if someone says that, hey, I'm handling work-life balance, I have huge respect for them. I cannot do it personally, to
Hmm.
be very honest. My wife complains a lot. She says, you don't give enough hours every day to me, and you don't have time. And obviously, if you're running a product company, the users don't, um, they will not take no for an answer.
Hmm.
They don't care if it's Saturday, 12 a.m., midnight, or it's a Sunday midnight, or you are on a date with your wife. They would not listen to this, right? And it makes sense. So you have to be available all the time. If you're available to the marketing team for an hour, then the legal team would come and they would ask for your time.
Hmm.
If you're handling the legal team, then the product team would need your attention. So I think there's no work-life balance. You have to be available for work 24 hours.
Hmm.
And in terms of things that I do, I started doing a little bit of meditation,
Hmm.
but again, then stopped it, because you go off road, right? You cannot stick to one thing all the time, right? So I
Hmm.
started with meditation because someone had suggested you should do meditation, and I still believe if you are an entrepreneur and if you're not meditating, you're killing yourself literally,
Hmm.
because the stress is so much. The stress increases as your product grows, right? And if you're not meditating, you are literally killing yourself.
Hmm.
But I'm not doing anything. I'm just focusing on the work. I would probably start meditating after a few weeks, but that helps a lot, to be very honest. Calms you down, and then you can have a peaceful night, and you can maybe sleep peacefully.
Hmm.
So
Perfect.
that could help.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Okay, awesome. We'll do one final question, and this is very hypothetical and fun. And
Mhm.
the question is basically, if you had to go back to college, your first year of college right now, what would you do differently back then? And then let's cover another hypothetical on hypothetical, which is if you were to continue in college, what would you have done in probably like a third year or your fourth year? And how do you see like that would have, if that would have added value in any way? So first, let's start with you going back to first year. What would you do differently?
I would do less parties, and I would think of saving a lot of money. Which both of the things I did not do in the first 2 years of my college life. Um, so that is something that I would do. I would do less parties. I would do less night outs. I would save up some money, but obviously that did not happen. So that's for the college life. And what was the second question?
If you had to continue in your college, what would you have done?
I think I would have done business. Even if I would have passed out successfully from college, I would have still gotten into entrepreneurship, because as soon as I landed in Bangalore, I knew, this is something that I have to do. There's no other way. I cannot work for someone all the time and then expect to grow as a person, right? So I would have still been an entrepreneur if I would have completed my engineering, because I was very sure. The first year, as soon as I landed in Bangalore, I saw the environment here. It gave me a lot of perspective. It gave me a lot of exposure, which helped. Thankfully, I came to Bangalore, and even if I would have completed, as I said, I would have been an entrepreneur.
Brilliant. I think it's a sign of like a true entrepreneur, and regardless of whatever would have happened, you would have been an entrepreneur itself. A great note, I think, to close the podcast as well. So yeah, Naveen, thank you so much for making your time, so taking some time and coming on our podcast. I think super insightful, not just around entrepreneurship and you talking about your businesses, but also in general for people to think about. A lot of fresh perspective that was offered. So again, thank you so much for making some time and coming on the podcast.
Oh, thank you for having me. I've been on to multiple podcasts and Twitter Spaces, but these guys, when they ask you a question, they are either very dumb and non-relevant to what you're doing, but the set of questions that you've had have been very great, very insightful, and I'm sure it will really help. Let's say what to a person who is graduating from college. Right, he would get what Web3 is. I hope you put this on the final thing, that get into Web3. This is the right time. After 4 years, you're going to regret if you don't get into Web3 right now. If you are a developer, if you want to get into, even if you are a marketer, if you want to pursue a profession, a different profession, get into Web3. This is the best time for everyone.
Yeah, I think we'll specifically also take that out for a clip and make sure that we post that across social media, our social media as well. So yeah, definitely. Once again, been a great chat. Thank you so much.
Thank you.